All right, I will call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our budget work session number one, Monday, November 17th, Trade Transit Center 2, third floor. We are here to do our first of two budget work sessions for the 2026 proposed budget. There's a limited courtesy to the floor item. I don't see anybody from the public here, though. I don't know of anybody that had any. So we can go right into item two, the 2026 budget review. Mayor, I'll offer you the opportunity if you want to come up and kick us off, if you so desire.
So good evening, President Yoder, Vice President Biter, members of council and the administration. I'll just start by saying I want to give kudos to the administration and Jamie and all of the department heads. As we all know, this was a tough one to get to this point where we are currently. And of course, we'll have discussions over the next few weeks and into December. But to get to this point, they did a tremendous job. We had to tighten our belts, as we all know, and put a little bit of, I guess, some pressure on them to get to this point. But they stepped up to the plate. They really did. And looked at some things that they need, some things maybe that they wish they had, and got to this point right here to the proposal that you see before you. So with that, I'll say before you today is the proposed 2026 budget, which includes audited numbers through 2023, 2024 unaudited numbers, which we're working on right now, as well as the 2025 projections and the 2026 proposed budget. The approved 25 budget showed an anticipated $3 million deficit. Current projections anticipate that the city will end 2025 with a $1.2 million deficit. This is due largely to increased revenue in taxes, licenses, and permit, and the state pension contribution. This is also due to a reduction in anticipated expenditures for 2025. The 2025 projected revenue and expenditures will leave the 2025 budget with an anticipated cash balance in the general fund of $4.7 million. The 2026 proposed general fund budget is projecting a $1.4 million deficit. And I think, we started at around 4.2, I think, right, Jamie, deficit. And so to get to 1.4, where we sit currently, was a tremendous effort to the department heads and to Jamie and Tevin to get us to that point to shave nearly $3 million off the deficit. The 2026 budget includes a $500,000 proposal tax increase, which combined with an increase in assessed taxable value results in approximately $413,000 in additional real estate tax revenue. Overall, the 2026 budget includes an estimated 7% increase in anticipated revenue. This increase reflects a one-time transfer of Bowman Field income, the 2024 tax surplus transfer from Emergency and Reserve Fund, and the proceeds from the sale of City Hall. The 2026 expenditures are expected to increase by approximately 1.3%. This increase includes rising medical and pension costs. There were several one-time reductions made this year to help offset the anticipated deficit. These one-time reductions include removal of budget for the capital savings across the departments, street reconstruction, and the Brick Streets budget. The proposed 2026 salary budget as presented includes a 2% increase across the board for each of the departments. There currently are 2 union contracts in negotiation and 1 in arbitration. Salary figures for police, streets and parks, and city hall bargaining units include an estimated 2% increase solely for budgeting purposes. These estimates are not negotiated or agreed terms and may be revised to reflect the final results of bargaining and the arbitration. 2025 has been an outstanding year for progress in the city, with the 2023 audit now completed. The 2024, as I said, is currently underway, and the 25 audit is projected for completion by no later than this time next year. Also in 25, the Department of Community and Economic Development delivered a year of major progress and strategic investment across Williamsport. The grants administrator secured funding for key capital projects, including more than $1.2 million for significant Bowman Field upgrades. full funding for the $806,400 Youngs Woods Park Improvement Project and the restart of the long-delayed $906,475 Downtown Safety Improvements Project. Additional successes included a $200,000 PennDOT Multimodal Award for West 3rd Street pedestrian enhancements, a $356,458 U.S. Department of Transportation Safe Streets and Roads for All grant for the safety to develop a citywide safety action plan and completion of the Marbury Street traffic signal modernization. Beyond infrastructure, the department strengthened policies, partnerships, and community services. Staff collaborated with UPMC and Lowestoft Township to advance a new bicycle safety corridor connecting Shaw Park to Millers Run Greenway. That's what Councilwoman Mealy, we're talking about the bike lanes and things like that. We're working on that loop right now. Streamline LERTA processes to support investment and played an active role in the Williamsport Business Association's downtown strategic plan. The city also earned Birdtown designation through the Pennsylvania Audubon Council. Significant progress was made in housing programs with updated home policies, the relaunch of the emergency rehab program, and renewed planning for expanded housing initiatives in 2026. Summer planning intern also contributed value analysis through a GIS needs study and a comprehensive report on Graphius Run. Together, these accomplishments demonstrate a year of strong momentum and meaningful community impact. With the improved accuracy of our reported revenues and expenditures, the city now has a clear financial picture. Despite the progress, as we all know, substantial fiscal challenges still lie ahead. In cooperation with City Council, the administration, and PFM, and I should have given a shout out to Gordon and his team. Gordon is here with us tonight. We'll use 2026 to create a strategic plan to guide the city forward into financial resilience. And yes, Gordon is with us also. I should have said that at the beginning. We did work very closely with Gordon and PFM to deliver this proposed budget as well. So we're thankful that he is here with us and we'll be able to answer any questions throughout the next couple of weeks too. I'll turn it back over to you, President Yoder.
Thank you, Mayor Slaughter. Appreciate it. We can get moving. Just a couple of quick reminders for department heads or asks, I would say. Just make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Could you just double check page number that you're working off of whenever we're going through stuff? And then what might be helpful, I know in the narratives throughout this, there's reference to some of the specific things that PFM had come up with, but if you would be so kind as to kind of walk us through in your sections what was factored in. And then I would even say maybe if there's some things on the horizon that aren't reflective, but maybe are in planning for future years, I think that would also be helpful as well for a lot of us. So we can go into the income estimates to start. I'll let them welcome up Ms. Livermore.
Good evening, Council. I'm going to talk to you tonight about the revenue projections for 2026. We had an increase for the budget in revenue of 7.33%. We took the millage up half a mil, which would take us to a total of 17.55 mils, which would increase the proposed budget by $373,344. Wage tax, we increased based on, so I did speak with Kevin before he left on some of these projections. So he did help me with some of the projections on the tax income. We increased that about $474,000 based on some collection data from Kevin and then some recommendations from PFM. The business privilege tax, it does not say this on there, but per Kevin, we increased it about 2%. That was his thought of what we should go up. It's about $160,000. TV cable franchise went down about 35,200. I think that's common. I think, you know, the reduction in cable usage and all that lowers that. Building permits, we took up about $175,000 based on the, I worked with Gary on that. It was based on the income we brought in this year and his projections for next year. Interest income, went down. We took that down to about 80% of what we had brought in last year, just because of the interest rates going down. And our ARPA funds are being used up, so the interest from the ARPA funds is much lower. Rental inspections was down about 22,000. Miscellaneous fire is up. That is where we put the income that is coming in from the South Williamsport agreement. So that went up about $186,000. So that's where you will see the expenses for that agreement in the fire budget, but that's where the income comes into. Miscellaneous parks income, that's up about 40,000. So this year, our Bowman Field income and all of the rental items that go through Bowman Field normally go through a different fund. They usually go through our special revenue fund. We intended to change that last year, but we've changed it this year. You also see, down further, there's a one-time increase of $250,000 in revenue for Bowman Field rental. That is income that was sitting in that account. We moved it over to the general fund. We moved the anticipated revenue for 26 to the general fund, and then you'll see expenses in the parks budget for the crosscutters items, expenses and that. So we just moved all of that excess revenue that was sitting in a different fund into the general fund this year. And that's where it will stay. That's where it should be. The pension contribution, we increased that about 5%. Normally, we kind of are very conservative with that and stay flat. But after some conversations with Gordon, the trends and our trends every year, it's always increasing. So we took that up about 5%. We did add in the 2024 excess tax revenue again this year to move back. We had moved that into the emergency reserve fund. That's the anything over the real estate tax revenue in 24. So we did list that here to bring back in. That non-revenue 250,000, that's what I just talked about a moment ago, the Bowman Field income. And then from capital projects, the sale of City Hall is added in there at the 560,000.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? This was the overview of page 5.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, page. So this was the overview of page 5 that includes information about 6, 7. Yeah, all of the revenue.
Yeah.
Through page 9.
Are there any questions, Mr. Allison?
It's not a big one, but the rental inspections being down, because we passed actually an increase in that, I thought, the structure of it.
So I talked to Gary about it, and he said that every so many years they change the wards that they do the rental inspections in. And this year, I think it was more of a commercial ward, so the rental inspections were down lower.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Adam, this is Bonnie.
Yes, Bonnie, go ahead.
Jamie, if you could explain the Bowman Field fund that's going into the general fund at this point. What was the reason where it was before, and what's the change?
It's been in our special revenue fund since before I started here. It was always budgeted in the special revenue fund. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was for that, but it really should be in the general fund. We intended to do it last year and it was just overlooked. It is one of the parks. It should be included in the Parks Department expenses. It should be included in the Parks Department revenue. So we did put it back in there. The $250,000 is funds that kept rolling from year to year from revenue in the past that wasn't used for expenses. So it's just overlapping, but that is a one-time move.
Okay, now, speaking of Bowman Field, I didn't see anything, and I don't know if there's anything. Did we receive any kind of revenue from MLB?
At this time, I think there was discussion about MLB agreements. This does not include income from MLB. It includes income from the crosscutters and rental of the baseball field, like the colleges and high schools rent the baseball field. from what I understand, there's some sort of agreement and discussion to be held in the near future with council and MLB to discuss whatever agreement. Right now, in the current agreement, it does not state that any revenue is to be sent to the city. I do know that they pay a contribution for the groundskeeper there. They have paid some parts of the updating projects there. But as for revenue specifically coming in from them, we don't have that.
Okay, and then we do have enough money for anything that we're responsible for in that field, right?
Yes,
And that we
there's,
have-
in the
there's
parks
funds
expense
there.
budget, you'll see that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the revenue side? Mr. Pelisi?
Jamie, you might not be able to answer this question, but since 2022, I'm looking at the Bowman Fields naming rights have remained static. Those naming rights, the fee for that hasn't gone up at all to reflect increased costs. Do we have any intention of increasing that?
Yeah, so actually earlier this year, I think I sent out that who's the naming rights?
Journey Bank.
Journey Bank, thank you. Is interested in actually upping their naming rights agreement. So I think we're right in the middle of it right now, and I believe there's a clause in there that says that we can re-up in the middle of it if we so choose. They are interested in doing that. So I can resend that information out if council is interested. It's not up yet. They're still in their current agreement, but they are interested in re-upping and increasing that a little bit.
Thank you.
Ms. Mealy?
Yeah, Vince, I think before the pandemic, that was actually 35,000. And then when we executed a new agreement with Journey Bank post-pandemic, the amount went down, correct, Eric?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was before, but we do have the new agreement with Journey Bank, yeah.
Okay. So if we get it back up to 35, that'll put us where we were before the pandemic.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
Ron- Yeah,
maybe I'm missing something. I'm just looking here on page 8 of this, and it's been 30,500 since 2022.
yeah. And then
Yeah,
I think we had 2 years where we didn't get any funding because we weren't running games because of the
Right.
pandemic.
I think we renegotiated that in
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah,
That was one of my first couple years on council.
right.
Okay.
So it may not actually, like, the tracking may not go back far enough to capture
Gotcha.
Yeah.
what
Okay.
it was previously.
Yeah.
Because initially it was Muncie Bank and then
Yeah.
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
Journey Bank. When we
Yep.
first did it, remember, it was Muncie
Yeah.
Bank and then they got bought out by.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Bonnie, the money in that Bowman Field account came from back when they were paying us $75,000 a year to host the game. And that was where the funding got sequestered. I don't believe that we've taken any money into that account since 2019, Randy, am I right?
Right?
Yeah. But the MLB did at one point pay us $75,000 a year for police overtime and other expenses related to hosting the game. And that's that 250,000.
That's why I question it, because I knew they were. And I don't know why we didn't ask even last year about this, because it is an expense to the city. So we were doing okay until I don't know what happened. But I agree.
And that leads me into a quick question for you, Jamie. So talk to me about expenses at Bowman versus income this year. If we set aside the question of police overtime and being compensated by MLB, does our income on the field cover our expenses on the field?
I couldn't tell you exactly without running the numbers, but I'd say we're even, if maybe sometimes a little in the negative, because Bowman Field and a lot of repairs. Now, we
Right.
did get a big grant this year, so a lot of the repairs, we paid for some stuff with ARPA. We paid for stuff with the grant, but it's either even or a little bit
Right,
under.
right, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Okay.
because they don't pay, so we pay for off-season utility bills. So you can't just shut off, the utilities while they're there, while they're not there. So we pay for that. And then, different miscellaneous expenses that come up. But I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think their rental income is 25,000 a year. It might be a little more or less. I don't have the agreement in front of me. And then we use that to offset I think the maintenance budget is $25,000 for them,
Yeah.
so. But then there's an electric budget and a water budget, so.
Right. Yeah, it always seemed to me like it was nearly a break even once we had other rental costs for the. fields and
Correct.
Things like
Mhm.
that, except for MLB, which of course we're laying out a whole bunch of extra money for. So I think if we can get that contribution again this year, I think that should leave us relatively neutral, assuming we're getting grants for any major work on the field. But anyway, so clearly we need to make that a priority to offset, to make the field at least cost neutral to us, if not an earner. But thanks.
Any other income related questions? I've got one, Mayor, if you would indulge me a little bit here. So I think the really big takeaway that I took from the PFM process is the opportunity that is in front of us with home rule, right?
Mhm.
From a revenue perspective, it's fixes a lot of problems that we're looking at today and that I think we're going to be looking at for the next couple of years. And I know we chatted about it for a couple of weeks. And what I really took away from that was I think the need for council administration to really get on the same page. And I'm not saying we need to get on the same page here today,
Mhm.
but I at least just think it's appropriate to kind of relay some things that I kind of learned from some discovery through a couple of other municipalities. And, you know, to really rely on you to kind of spearhead getting on the same page. And I think understanding how council can really help in that effort to enact home rule. What I really took away, I talked to Lancaster, I talked to Hazleton, and their mayors each were really spearheading it. And in both of those kind of conversations, the thing that I learned from it was the amount of work that it takes up on the full-time staff's time, right? And that's across the board. That's mayor, that's, I mean, on council side, city clerk, but that's police, that's fire, that's every administrative department, you know, when the commission asks questions, that kind of stuff. And if I'm being realistic about the chance of that happening, I struggle to see, I struggle to see that being successful when we just kind of spearhead it and do it, right? And so I'm saying all of this, that's in my mind a massive opportunity in front of us. It fixes a lot of issues. At least me individually as one member, I'm here to support that. However, but you know, I'm really looking to you to spearhead that when the administration's ready and understand how we can help in that effort.
Well, yeah, and I think it's to the point that you said, if we can row the boat in the same direction. You mentioned Lancaster, Mayor Sirachi's a good friend of mine, and you mentioned Hazleton, and he is as well. And so they were all rowing the boat in the same direction. And I think to your point, it doesn't go anywhere if you're not. So if the administration, if we're thinking one way in how we want to enact home rule, and then council is thinking, or vice versa, whatever the case might be, we all have to be working together for home rule too. Because when you go into the community, of course, it's got to go before the voters. And you have to have a message to the voters that is consistent, because home rule is confusing enough, let alone when you're trying to explain it to just the average day run-of-the-mill voter, who probably, in most cases, will not spend a lot of time researching home rule. So we have to deliver that message to them. So again, if we can get to a place where we're in agreement on how we want to present that message, I do agree that home rule could save us money whether you're looking at the taxing options for it, or you know, whatever the case might be. And we're still continue to work with, even right now, with the state legislature on LST, but also we've been talking about a wage tax as well. We're working with some of the legislature and other folks down in Harrisburg to look at that possibility, and the possibility of potentially sunsetting some other taxes in the city. I don't want to say too much here publicly because I don't want to get out in front of our skis, but we are looking at other various options too, in addition to home rule, which takes a couple of years, and maybe we're going into this January, I think will be the second year of the current legislative session. So hopefully the second year here, we can get some stuff done. But yes, the work with council, work with the administration, and you know, if we get to a position where we feel like we're comfortable to deliver this to the voters and get it on the ballot.
I hope when we go through this next year, hopefully we have it on the ballot at some point next year. I hope that we are sitting here next year and we can say, yeah, it's on the ballot. It's been passed where you have a commission formed at least, right? That's amazing progress. Over the next year, I'll be here at least to support you in however you deem that process appropriate. Happy to help participate as needed, but I hope that's where we're at next year. Ms. Mealy.
I think the important thing to me is that looking at this budget, which is, we're still running a $1.4 million deficit at the end of this budget if we pass it as is, which is a pretty huge amount of money. I mean, we've only run like a couple $100,000 deficit when we jump off the starting blocks at the beginning of the year, the last couple of years. So we can regard this at best probably as a Band-Aid budget, if it's passed as is, that will get us to next year in the same situation that we currently are. And so to me, the one thing that has a definitive promise, because we in Williamsport control the process of changing our budget picture within the next couple of years, is home rule. It is the only thing that will allow us to increase income taxes within the city, to potentially decrease property taxes, and to make our whole budget picture a lot more sustainable. So it seems to me like in order to move forward, particularly with a budget that's effectively a Band-Aid meant to tide us over till the end of 26, we have to have something in motion in 26 that will change the budget picture longer term. And the only thing to me that guarantees that, and that was also what I heard from Gordon, who's restless back there, sorry, was home rule. So to my way of thinking, to be perfectly frank, I would like to walk away from this budget process with two things in place. I would like to see us pass a resolution, either the 4th or the 11th, that lays out an agreement between the administration and council on how we're going to pursue home rule in the next year. That is to say that council leadership and the administration sit down and say, this is the messaging we want on home rule. We agree to collaborate to put it on the ballot in May of next year. And this is how we move forward with it. Obviously, none of us controls what winds up on the home rule in the home rule charter. That is a matter for the people who are elected to sit on the commission. What we control is the messaging around home rule, and what we control is administrative and council and legislative support for the measure. Right. And what we hope is that counteracts any outside interests that might, for some reason, want to see the status quo continue in the city of Williamsport. But I think that we should work together to draft a resolution that commits both sides to working together to put home rule on the ballot in 26.
I don't have any issues with that. Again, if we can get on the same page,
And then the other thing that I think we then need to do, correct me if I'm wrong, Gordon, my understanding was that the state is currently willing, if based on PFM's likely recommendation that the city should work to become a home rule municipality, we would be in line to hopefully receive funding from the state to support that home rule effort, which is huge. And there would be a 10% match for that out of the city's pocket, Gordon, correct? I would suggest that we build that money into the 26 budget. The 10% match.
In Act 13.
Yeah, in Act 13, in whatever.
That's usually where we put it. Okay.
That was one of the questions I was going to have for you was, where should we take it? But I would suggest that we put that match, that we allocate that match in the 26 budget so that we have all of our ducks in a row to move forward with home rule in May of 26, ideally. Not with home rule,
right,
to move
to
forward
put it
with
on.
the process of putting it on the ballot, ideally getting voter consent, electing a board of commissioners, whatever you call them. I'm sorry, my term.
Yeah, you have that. And again, I think that's where we have to discuss, because you want, as you just stated, you don't want someone coming in with preconceived notions. You want somebody coming in that's going to look at it. And but yes, to get to that point, we're going to need to work together. And as long as we're comfortable with it, I can't sit here tonight, obviously, and say that, but as long as we're comfortable with the messaging and being on the same page, then we can move that forward. But I'm not going to, I can't say that right now, but I can commit to working and seeing where we get to.
I think that we should make it a priority and try to get some sort of agreement between council and the mayor for the end of December. Like our 11th meeting would be my inclination. I want to see us walk into 26 with the plan to have a better approach to the budget by the end of 26. And I have not heard any other options out there that would make that a reality. So that the messaging to me, I am happy to talk about the messaging. A lot of it to me, frankly, is we need to find candidates to run for the commission. And then people will also put their own names out there. And that is great. That is the democratic process at work, which is super exciting.
Right, but also the form too. Again, we don't need to get all this tonight, but but that's going to look like and all that type of stuff.
Well,
So,
we have a choice of 3 questions, is my understanding.
well, yeah, but I don't think we're going to get behind all 3 is my point. Yeah. So that's what, right. And that's what I'm saying.
I think
Yeah.
that's great. So we say that we agree to work together to put this question on the budget, and we can select the question if that makes the administration more comfortable. I think that's a great plan. I don't have any problem. I just want to, I don't feel comfortable with a budget like this unless we have an idea of how we're going to wind up in a better position next year. And so I need to see that we are making progress. And to me, progress is we've identified one thing that we have relative control over as a community, right? With the state legislature, we can't control, right? It might go somewhere and it might not. If it goes somewhere, fantastic. I'm like, great, let's do it. Chris, I'm probably not allowed to say that on television. I'm sorry. But if it doesn't, then we're in the same place we ever were. The only thing that we can control is anything that happens at the local level. And that to me is pretty much home rule. We can change other minor things. We can try to get rid of employees. We can try to increase revenue by encouraging building permits. That's a couple $100,000. Something like home rule is a game changer. So I think we need to make an agreement on that and understanding on that where we can all push toward the same goal of priority before the end of the year. Sorry. Okay, that was very long-winded. I'm sorry, Derek, but thank you for the dialogue.
And I will look for a match. Act 13 is when you see that is pretty, so I'll look for.
I think it's possible. I mean, Gordon might be able to tell us. Gordon, could we pull it from Act 13 funding?
There's not a lot of surplus there, so I'll look around and see what I can
I
find.
mean, I
But
don't think, what are we talking? It's maybe $50,000 to run a home rule commission?
Yeah, if it's a 10% match, yeah, I don't think this would be I think you'd be looking in the realm of like $10,000 to $15,000 PFM, but we don't do that kind of work, so I'm kind of guessing on
Yeah.
someone else's behalf. But I think that's about right.
I think between now and the 2 readings of the budget, we could probably get some rough
Spitball numbers.
numbers to give us a good, estimate of what
yeah.
that should look like, both match and then, so
And
we
how
can
long
figure
do-
that out.
I guess we're all gonna be making more money up here next year, so I'll contribute if we run. And you can hold me to it.
All right. Any
Listen,
other,
Randy. Yes, listen, Randy.
Yo.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Okay, there was when we did this before going and looking at the 2 points, 2 home rule, and we were looking at the other type of government. We were able to get money for that, if you remember. Harrisburg is really on top of this, so there's funding out there for this. And there's a lot of information that they can give us help wise also, because I can remember getting a lot of paperwork on it. So, there is stuff out there. I don't think that would have changed that dramatically. I really don't.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Jamie, you have your hands full. You got to go find money for us.
I'll look.
Are there any other questions on the income estimates by members? Mr. Mackey?
I'm going to bring us back to maybe the more inconsequential here after Councilwoman Mealy's little speech there, but I agree with everything that you said, Liz. I think it's a great idea.
Thanks.
So I'm all for that and whatever I can do to help.
Thank you.
Can you just remind me on page 7, the difference between traffic fines, state traffic fines and restitutions and traffic fines local?
I don't even know the answer to that. We don't collect though, in the finance department, they come directly into the treasurer's office. I can get that information though for you from the treasurer's office and see what's included in it. They collect all of that, so.
Okay,
But
Thank you.
I can get that information for you and let you know.
thank you.
Any other income estimate questions before we go over to general government? All right. Jamie,
you.
thank you for the income estimate side of things. We'll go next to general government. We'll start with city council and city clerk on page 10. I'll walk you through the overview. These are pretty straightforward budgets. The big change that you see is under the city council side of things. So next year, 26 is the first year that we are under the different compensation structure, which is $10,000 per council member. However, we don't have the health insurance benefit. And in addition to that, there are some decreases in contracts and legislative contingency that are in alignment with either historical items or contracts that are no longer needed. But you're seeing a net savings of just under $200,000, driven largely by the change in compensation structure. So, questions?
Just a question as an interested council member who will not have health insurance next year. Donna, is there any sort of, anything that might, any sort of movement underway that might allow council members to purchase health insurance through the city?
You still have an option to purchase it, but you'd be purchasing it at the Cobra prices.
Right.
So yes, I can definitely get you that information so you can see what you're looking at.
I think that would be great. I mean, I know that I would be interested in that. I can't speak, I'm a small business owner, so we've never provided insurance. I'm assuming that the rest of council may well have themselves covered, but that's something that I've always done.
One have station with you because there might be some other avenues that you could use as well.
Sure.
For the same kind of coverage.
Yeah, okay, I think that would be good. I guess. Never mind, that's a much longer conversation. But just asking because I think that might be something that at least as one council member would be of interest to a handful of people who sit on council or to someone who may. Right.
So if anyone needs some help or assistance for finding coverage, I can have a conversation with you. I'm not an insurance agent, but I can tell you what the city would charge for your current health insurance, and I can point you in some directions.
Got it.
I'm in the same boat as you, Liz.
Yep.
We paid for our insurance all of the time from the get-go.
Right. Yeah, and I'm right. And I was one of the members who voted that we shouldn't get it. And I am in agreement with that because I don't think that it really is befitting the nature of our position, especially because there was a pretty wide array of values to that plan for city council, depending on to what extent you took advantage of it. But I do think if the city can make arrangements and if we could also offer it to part-time employees who might be interested, things like that, to purchase insurance coverage. Insurance for the average consumer is about to go through the roof. And I think that would be a huge thing that we could do that would attract good hires to part-time positions as well as positions like these that are elected officials. Okay.
Any other questions on the city council side? Mr. Nelson.
Just a comment, for perspective. The insurance that the council initially got was way back. So it was basically it cost pennies on the dollar. It's just that as insurance grew to the monster that it is now, it inflated that benefit. So we did the right thing. Although the quick math I tried to get is that we're saving the city about $90,000, a little bit over that. So it was really well timed. Thank you.
Yeah, here. And then real quick, the city clerk's budget, it's a change of $64. There's a 2% increase that's in line with all at will employees that the mayor mentioned, and in addition to longevity, and then the increase in pension increase for the MMO is offsetted by a decrease in essentially ordinance advertising. So any questions on council or city clerk? Okay. Mayor Salata, I'll turn it back over to you for the mayor's office.
Yes, good evening once again, President Yoder, Vice President Biter, members of council and administration. Again, similar to what you just went over, the mayor's office is pretty straightforward. Probably the two main things you'll see, and we can have some discussions on this, well, at least the one. Legal services went down, we decreased it by 5,000. That's sort of a guessing game. We never really know legally what we're going to need throughout the year. Sort of looked at some historical stuff and hoping that in 26 we might not need to use that fully. Fingers crossed, but again, you never know there. The other one is the SPCA. The spay and neuter, that's primarily what that is used for. We decreased that, and the fire company did say that they would, and I'm sure others would too, be willing to hold some fundraisers and things in support of that if we need to help them out with some funding. We can talk about that. Other than that, in my particular budget, there was really not a whole lot else in there. That's sort of the only one that's still hanging out there. So we can talk about that and back and forth on what we think there. So that's I should have started. That's this is page 13, the overall, and that covers the mayor's office on page 14. And do you want me to stop there or do you want to go with the what's after the mayor's office? What was next?
Law.
Oh, the Bureau of Law. Yeah, right. And I know Austin White is on, but I'm going to just keep going
Page 21.
with that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So on page 21, so Bureau of Law Legal Services, again, removing, as we're all aware, the FTA legal services from last year, and then we aligned it with Gordon and PFM's recommendation heading into 26. So we do think we'll realize some savings there due to that. But again, other than that, that's pretty straightforward. That's just our legal services. So.
Are there any questions for the mayor's office budget and the Bureau of Law by members?
I do, Adam. I have a question. With the law, we do have a line item for them, and the mayor's office and also city council, we also have a contingency for.
Bonnie, are you there?
Do you want to explain that?
Can you explain?
Can you repeat your question? You broke up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just, inquiring mind would like to know, okay, we give the salary to the law offices. They do a great job. But each one, like the mayor's office and also city council, we all also have the legal contingency. Is that just a safeguard, or how is that money used?
Bonnie, this is Jamie. I'm going to help out with that. So the Bureau of Law handles the solicitors. The legal services handles insurance claims, like when we get sued and have to pay legal services for those insurance claims. That's what that is. The legislative contingency is That was what she asked about?
Yeah.
Okay, that is completely
Yes.
council's discretion. So that's whatever city council chooses to use that for.
Okay. I thank you. I don't think I have anything else right now.
Any other questions on the mayor's office or Bureau of Law? All right. We're gonna handle controller treasurer as well.
Yes,
Mayor
yep,
Slaughter.
yep.
We'll move to the controller's office then.
Page
Yeah.
17, I believe.
17. Perfect.
All right, yes, I'll handle, Ms. Woodring, is unable to be here due to some emergency that arise. So I'd let her know that I will handle it. You see a significant, decrease, in hers, and that's due to, the 2024 audit and 2025 audit costs. What we anticipate moving forward, now that we are getting clean audits and all of our finances are being updated, you'll see, and that's $132,000 reduction in our auditing services. So that's why you see the controller's office went down 30% year over year. Other than that, hers is pretty straightforward.
Any questions on the controller's budget? Okay. We can continue on, Mayor Slaughter.
Yep. So moving on to the tax collector. So again, that's, I mean, fairly straightforward. Really his whole increase is essentially the health insurance premium increase, which we saw across the board. Most places went up 15-16% this year. So other than that, the tax collector's line item is basically the same.
Any questions in the tax collector treasurer's office? Mr. Mackey.
I'm just curious, how many applications do we have for the position currently?
Oh, no. But I report them all for,
So
They're in
I'll
the
just,
box that you all have
Yeah.
access to.
Okay.
so just so it's in the microphone, there's four.
Yep.
And HR has asked that they all be forwarded to.
And they have been. They're in a Dropbox that you all can access.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Any other questions? The only thing, what I'm about to say might be a little unpopular, but I think it's worth noting. I would encourage us to consider maybe a little bit of a extra level of compensation for the full-time staff member in the treasurer's office, notably with the turnover that she's experienced, at least in my time on council. She's gonna essentially train her third treasurer in 6 years. Something for us to consider as we go in and make changes over the next two sessions.
Just something to add to that. We just have to be careful because she's a union employee. So we just have to, I mean, of course, it's the
Yep,
mayor can do those things, but
Yeah,
that-
understood.
we just have to make sure we're.
I appreciate the
careful.
reminder on that. Cool. All right, let's jump to thank you, Mayor Slaughter. I appreciate that. Yes, please.
I just know I was talking to Gordon a little bit about Councilwoman Mealy and I know we're at 1.4 right now, and actually working with PFM, they asked to get to about 1.5 with the 5-year strategic plan. So I didn't know if you wanted Gordon just to explain some of the rationale behind that briefly on the 1.5, his recommendation, and to get to at least, I should say, to at least 1.5 as we get to this today.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be helpful if you would be so kind as to do that, Gordon. And side note, welcome. I think it's extremely beneficial that you're here.
Sure.
Very grateful, and frankly, above and beyond what I was expecting out of this.
Yeah, I like
strategic
coming here.
management process,
fine.
so very grateful for it.
Yeah, I like coming here. Thanks for the opportunity to address you and to talk a little bit about this. I wanted to, why I was getting so anxious and Councilwoman Mealy saw it. I'm a terrible poker player in the background as I was shifting around. Is I think your view of the budget is largely right on. I'm going to use a different B word. You used Band-Aid, and that's an okay one. I'm going to use a different one. I'm going to use bridge, right?
Okay.
Here was our thinking and when we sat down with the mayor and Jamie on this. You have an amount of cash on hand. This year's budget was very reliant on it. We wanted to be less reliant on it, right? So that we didn't go through all this process and you have me here 4 different times talking about structural versus non-structural solutions. And at the end we go, hey, let's just do the same thing we did before, right? So less reliance on the cash balance than before. We talked about the importance of having, our number is about $2.1 million in cash that you can use on a cash flow basis so you don't have to borrow money to fund operations, right, early in the year. And so if you're looking at page 4 and you're looking at the top, you see the estimated balance, let's call it $4.8 million. I backed 2.1 million out of that because you want that level for cash. So 4.8 minus 2.1 is 2.7. And then, we said, so we have $2.7 million. And our thinking was we have to make it last 2 years, right? So 1.5 isn't quite half of 2.7, but close enough. And the reason we're trying to do that is we're trying to build a bridge to a couple of things that would do exactly, Councilwoman, what you said. The biggest one that you saw is home rule, right? Nothing else that was on our list of options is worth $4 million or whatever it was, depending on the tax increase. That's a really big move. We think you need to do it next year too, but we know it takes time. So we're trying to, by virtue of both the tax increase, which could potentially be rolled back, depending on what the earned income tax is, and by virtue of the reserves and some of these other things, we're trying to build a bridge and buy you enough time to do that big thing. There are some other things. It's not the only one, but it's definitely the biggest, right? If you can get new agreements with your nonprofit organizations and get higher pilot payments, that's helpful. I don't know that you can do that in 3 weeks, but whatever, you need the time for that. We talked about looking at staffing levels in the police department. One of the things we did not talk about here, but I talked about a little bit with your public works director that I think has some promise is right now you pay to operate and to maintain the levee. You pay it out of your general fund. If there is a flood, the water will not magically morph around Williamsport's borders and not touch anybody else. It is a regional asset. It should be regionally funded. It should be regionally operated. You should not be shouldering all of those costs. Could you get to a point where you take that $200,000 or so that's in your budget and move it to a regional asset? We think so. We think regionalization, you already heard our commercial on that and our advocacy for that with the fire department. We think that has some promise. So there are a handful of things, but they take time, right? So this budget is intended, and I would tell you probably candidly next budget too, assuming you put the home rule charter question on the list and it gets passed and you have a commission and you have 5 people or 3 people or whatever it is, you'll still have to wait for them to do their thing, whatever their thing ends up being. So our counsel here is let's build a bridge that helps get you through 2026. That's not just, let's just blow through our reserves and hope that the revenue ferry visits us sometime next year and fixes everything. Let's build a bridge for next year that gives you enough time to make some of these structural changes. So that was our thinking on the reserves.
Thank you, Gordon.
So how many years is the bridge?
2. Can't be too much more than that. Why? Because if we use 1.5 in reserves this year, and let's say we use 1.2, we're at a bridge, right? The third year, now we'd be burning the cash that you need to fund operations. The line we're trying to draw and say, this is it, we can't go any lower than that, is about $2.1 to $2.2 million in cash. Why? Because early in the year, that's our estimate of what you need to keep the lights on and to keep people paid before your tax revenues come in. So you are in, this is the very first thing I said when I stood in front of you. You have a cash balance. You don't need to borrow money to fund operations. That's a good thing. Let's make that the hill we die on, right? Let's not go any lower than that. So if you did nothing else, and it sounds like there's a lot of energy and focus to do something else, you'd run out of time in 2 years. So it's a 2-year bridge.
So if I'm interpreting, and others chime in here, please, if I'm interpreting this correctly, tell me if I'm not. Is it I'm of the impression that a lot of what we see this year is what we'd also might see next year in terms of how the budget is structured and what that bridge looks like. Is that accurate?
So hopefully not entirely. So our report when it comes out, it won't just say page 1 home rule, page 2, see,
Yeah,
say
certainly.
page 2, page 1. So, but for the home rule part of the bridge, yes, but the other things, the pilot payments, the starting to talking about the regionalization of the
Yeah.
levy, some of those other things, we'll give you some ideas for, you have a significant increase, this will be, I guess, coming up not too long from now, in your health insurance costs. Now you have to do that through collective bargaining, but there's different things you can
Yeah.
do there. Some of those things should start next year. Some of them may already be started. I don't know.
Understood.
But so the bridge shouldn't have to be quite as reliant on reserves next year.
Gotcha.
That's the hope.
So you're looking at some potential other structural things to offset some of the maybe one-time things.
Yes, absolutely.
That you had presented to us that we don't necessarily see here.
Right, because let's take, I'm hitting the levy thing hard, so I might as well lean all the way in. We're not going to take the levy out of your budget. You're not going to zero it out and say, oh, someone else will pay for it, right? You need time to have those conversations to determine who's interested, what would be the structure, or do you have a board, all that sort of stuff. But those are the types of things that you can be, all right, not right now, but early January of 2026, you can be working on. Those things don't lend themselves to the budget because if you put them in here, they'd be zero and, but yeah, those are the things. The budget should not just be a list of where you're getting your money and how you're spending your money, but there's a strategy below it to try to say, okay, and in 2 years, here's what I want to be, or in 5 years, here's where I want to be. So yes.
So how is that plan being documented? Is it you hanging out here the next couple of years in the background and coaching, or is there
I don't.
something outlined?
So,
Because
yeah, go ahead.
my concern is,
Mhm.
whenever your contract's up, right?
Mhm.
I don't know when that is. I don't, because the uniqueness of
Sure.
CD backing you, I think
Yeah.
makes that a little
Right.
unique, right? But
Yep.
my concern is when you leave, if that's not, captured adequately,
Yes.
I worry about losing momentum.
Right. So two things. One, the tangible thing is the end report. The next thing you see us produce will be the multi-year plan, which is actually like a full-on document that says, do these 25 things over the next 5 years, do this one here, do that one there. So it is a tangible thing.
Okay.
So if we all leave or get abducted
Yeah.
by aliens or run over by a bus or whatever, the document is there and it exists. So that's thing number one. Thing number two is DCD does provide grant support for PFM to stay around, and that's not uncommon. So we are working east of here in Lackawanna County, where 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, we did a multi-year plan for them. They were in really, really bad shape. And the county said, we sort of want you to hang around for at least another year to help us do the 4 or 5 things. We did that in Wilkes-Barre, where Wilkes-Barre was on the verge and actually even applied to get into Act 47 at one point. And the state said no, and we hung around with them long enough where I haven't worked with them in years, but they're not in Act 47, so I guess it turned out okay.
Yeah.
That same sort of structure is here. So you'd have the ability to ask DCD to keep us around if that's what you wanted. But you also have the plan document, and
Yeah.
that's the key thing.
Well, for whatever it's worth, whatever I can do to help facilitate you staying here for a little bit, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I recognize that,
Yeah.
that takes funding and all that kind of stuff. So if there's anything I can do to help, please let me know.
I appreciate that. Like I said, I like being here, so I'm not going to, lobby against my own interests, so to speak.
Fair.
One of the things that if you do head down the home rule path,
Mhm.
one of the things we've learned from playing this role in Lancaster, where Mayor mentioned Mayor Srirachi, is
Yep.
part of whatever that commission, you want that commission to be focused on finances. That's why you're doing it. You're doing it because you need the taxing authority. So if you have somebody who could sit in the room with and say, hey, over here, let's focus on the finances. This is what it looks like if we have the tax and this is what it doesn't. And often that spawns different questions. Well, what if I cap the tax at this? Or what if I increase the tax for that? Or what if I use the tax for this? What if I change this tax over here instead? If you have somebody who can answer those questions and model it out, it helps structure the argument. Now, doesn't have to be me. It could be Jamie. There she is. Yeah, that made her real happy. Some people do it internally. A lot of people don't. So in your grant request, we could be a package deal, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or Jamie could do it. No, I just wanted to see that face again.
Look, Jamie, look, Jamie, since
No,
she's been here, has shown that she's more than capable to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the same token, I don't know how often you're in past 5 o'clock, but it's more than you should be.
Yes.
And frankly, I hope that helps you. Right. And then I'm sure there's additional things that you pick up.
Yeah.
Gordon and PFM are a unique group that you're not gonna get access to on the other way. So whatever. But anyway, that request is not a reflection of you, Jamie. So. Any other questions for Gordon before we get into departments?
I would like to make a quick statement to Gordon. Gordon, I've been going through your papers, and honestly, guy, I'm going through the papers and going to the budget back and forth. You were so right on in a lot of things, and thank you very much. It's very informative, and I think what you showed us and given us is a path. And I like, with the bridge. So thank you very much.
It's a better word than Band-Aid.
Any other questions for Gordon? All right. Thank you for the clarity before going into other departments. Let's go into the human resources budget. Ms. Fuller, you're welcome up. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm short. Good
No
evening.
worries.
So my budget is on page 24, my explanations of the general fund for me. It's on 23. There is an increase of 28,726 for the year of for next year's budget. And like everyone else, that's because of our health insurance.
Yeah.
It went up 15%. HR is trying to figure out ways to reduce that. But nothing concrete where I can say, here, it's done, but we're getting there. So, what can I say about this? Salary increased 2%. The pension increased by the memorandum of understanding, MMO. Health insurance increased for my department by 24,906. City Hall operating allocation went up by $300, and then training went up by 1,000. I have a training class for law to help reduce the cost of attorney fee, so that we're asking the right questions and providing the information they need for a good response.
Are there any questions about the human resources budget? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have finance and administration. Ms. Livermore, welcome back.
Hello again. The finance budget starts on page 15, and that gives the explanation, and page 16 is the full budget. The finance department budget increased by 5.63%. There's some changes in health coverage, so not just necessarily the health increase. There's some adjustments in the coverage for staff, so it's up a little bit. We always do about 5% increase on the insurance policies. That's just a standard increase that we use. We don't get any of the detailed information on our actual premiums until December, but we usually do 5% increase. It's usually pretty close. Planning expense, we Increased that by 8,000 only because we were making up for, we had decreased it by 8,000 last year. Assuming we were going to change the way that we did the contract, we did not. So we just increased it back up to what the current contract is with them. I believe the contract runs out in a couple months, and the mayor and I did discuss, looking at that, but, municipal tax office expense. So this is a treasurer department expense, but it sits in the finance department because that's how it logically should be. This is the cost for processing the taxes that the school district used to process. And now Keystone processes them. I actually just worked with someone from Keystone. Our rate is about 2%, 2.2%, she said, of the processing fee is about that much. When we were with school district, it was much, much cheaper, but the school district no longer does it. So we have to use this service. So that took us up about 27,000 based on, and that was what Kevin had anticipated the percentage being. I'm still working with Keystone just to iron out a couple questions. But I left it at what Kevin suggested. Supplies and materials, we have to buy a new postage machine. So we left our office supplies and our supplies and materials kind of higher than normal just because we have to buy a new postage machine. It expires in 26. So interest and penalties, we took down about 50,000. I worked with Valerie to make sure that she didn't foresee any more penalties. We left it there just in case, just in case. Oh, also, I'm sorry, contracted services. We have expended all of our contracted services money that we use for UHY and ARPA. So I raised that a little bit to cover any little services that ARPA or that UHY still does for us. She helps a little bit with reviewing our expenditures for the land bank and RDA, and that's pretty much all we did. She does with us now since we have such little money left, so we don't anticipate there being lots of costs there. But I did raise it a little bit for them.
Any questions for finance and administration? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next, we've got the Department of Public Safety. That starts with the Office of the Director.
Yeah, Director of Public Safety. That's always in there, but we obviously don't have a Director of Public Safety. We just leave that in. So we can.
Okay. We can go into the police department then.
Good evening. So for the police budget, it's increased 4.94%.
What page are you on?
Oh, sorry, 27.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
So 4.94%, as you've heard, due to insurance cost, 3%, almost 3% of that is due to health insurance premiums, which is just about $302,000. For salaries and non-uniform, increased 2%, as the mayor and Jamie explained. Overtime, if there was a discussion about that last year, it wasn't quite accurate. It should have been raised more. So this year we took it up 26,000 just to bring it realistic where it should be. FICA workman's comp, that's increased. We have no control on that. Pensions increased by 3,000. Not uniform pension actually decreased by $6,800. And again, health insurance increased almost 302,000. We increased severance by 27,000. That's just due to a retiring officer. Contracted services, we had to increase by 21,000. So we had a $1.6 million grant that covered training, equipment, just a plethora of things. But we have so much new technology and it just continues to increase. And with the grant, we were able to buy a lot of that, but everything's subscription based. So everything takes an internet connection, everything's a monthly fee. It's insane, I know, but it's just how we have to pay and to keep our software and our licensing. If you skip down to communications, it's kind of the same thing. We had to increase that by 13.5. And much like contract services, it's just due to technology, more cell phones, and everything's an internet connection. Uniforms, we decreased that by 12,000, and that's due to less officers for armor replacement. Now we estimate $8,000 for armor reimbursement, and that will go back in the general fund. Facility maintenance, that decreased. We reduced that by $7,000. Vehicle purchase, that increased by 149,000. And I'll say that the line item actually decreased by 93,000. So in 2025, we had only 49,000 from police budget, 242 from ARPA. So this year, what's coming out of our police budget is more, but in reality, it's much less, $93,000 less for vehicles. And then there's an estimated $20,000 in revenue that we estimate for the sale of old vehicles. That could be more. That's just an estimate. And then, as Jamie explained, capital projects, everything was pretty much pushed back a year, so that saved about 155,000. Questions?
All right. Any questions on the police department budget? Ms. Mealy?
This is a question actually more for Jamie. Sorry, I think you can stay put. You got a microphone. And it's not specific to the police budget, but this is the capital projects reduction. What was the net amount of money the city realized for the bottom line out of basically pushing every capital projects investment to next year?
It was about $755,000. We did keep any of the items that were to be purchased in 26. We did keep those purchases just in case anybody had put an order in. So we were at about 806, and I think we are down about 755 is what we saved this year.
Got it. And then Gordon, I'm anticipating that your bridge budgets anticipate doing that next year as well.
Hopefully not as much, right?
Okay.
I mean, as we talked about before, what you're doing what you're doing by setting money aside is the right thing.
Right.
That's
my concern.
Yeah. So hopefully not. I mean, I guess it would be next year you would have the decision between tax increase, cash, or capital. And this year we've done all three again to try and get to 2028, I guess it is, or 7, whatever it is.
Got it.
But hopefully not as big because you've started to do the right thing, right? This is a financial necessity, we believe, not something else.
Right. I guess I'm just concerned. I mean, seeing also the $93,000 reduction. So you're telling me that to go on our 3 cop car schedule, we would need an additional $90,000 in the cop car budget, right? So in addition to, was that did I blink there and miss something, or is that accurate?
No, we decreased. So it's $100,000 increase from last year coming out of our budget.
But that was because we were taking it from ARPA funding last year.
Correct.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is, in addition to not funding any capital projects that are year over year, we're also underfunding our police fleet, correct, this year? We're not, that 149,000 will not buy us 3 cars, or will it?
No, that will get us our 3 cars,
Okay,
because last year.
So we're not underfunding
We're not
police
underfunding
cars.
police cars.
We're funding it from a different source.
Right, where it's
is
not
what we're
coming from
doing,
ARPA anymore.
correct?
Okay.
Correct.
We were funding it
We
with
actually
ARPA,
purchased some.
now we're funding it with
So I
the-
did blink. I apologize.
Yeah, we actually did purchase some extra vehicles last year to offset because of ARPA.
Yeah.
So this keeps us on track.
Okay, good. So then all we're doing is the $750,000 from, well, obviously there are other elements being cut, money that we will need to put back in next year. I'm assuming we're not anticipating a reduction in uniform costs next year as well? Or is that a possibility?
It's possible. I mean, it really
Okay.
depends on officers and how many,
Okay.
each year the armor changes. That armor has to be replaced every 5 years.
Got it. And facility maintenance?
That's, I mean, we don't know.
Okay,
I mean, if we're,
so that money doesn't necessarily exist. And I'm just
Well, there's
asking what
stuff
we're,
that
yeah,
Exists, it's a
done.
little bit of a shot in the dark, I think is what he's saying.
yeah, there's stuff that
So,
needs to be
well, I think
done,
we
but
need to know.
obviously
right,
it's not the
Yeah.
right facility for it.
right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, just, yeah. Trying to get a grasp of exactly what our bridge is taking us over, I think is what is. And that was not me poking fun at the term Horton. That was just me trying to understand what we're bridging here. And what bridges can be, yeah, to what extent we can cross back over that bridge when we get there. Thanks. Thank you. I didn't have a lot of questions about the actual structure of the budget. Thanks.
Any other questions by members on police? Mr. Pelisi?
Thank you. And, let me understand here. Is it general practice that our retiring officers get a severance package?
Yes. Everybody gets a severance. Everybody gets severance, which is all severance is their unused vacation time, any comp time. It's basically for police, it's written in their CBA. They get a limit, like a maximized sick time, and their longevity that they would have earned in the year that they retire. But each contract has something different, but severance just basically means unused, unpaid out benefits.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other? Mr. Mackey?
Two questions, and maybe I'm missing it. Is there a line item in here, the K-9?
No, so K-9 is purely donations.
Donations.
Not funded with any city money.
Okay, and that's where are we at with that? I know, like, we're still getting donations, like, how's that?
I mean, we consistently solicit for donations. It's tough because, people have less money, everything's more expensive, but we maintain.
Okay.
So we're still going. We have 3 K-9s and it's going good.
And then could you walk me through if we go to the salary detail, could you walk me through the staffing?
What page, John?
Sorry, page 68. I see here, I know, Gordon, correct me if I'm wrong, attrition that was one of your suggestions, not replacing people when they retire. So if I'm looking at this correctly, I see no assistant chief budgeted, but we are adding to first year officers to keep the complement at 51. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So can we just get a little bit more explanation on that? There's not going to be an assistant chief now?
To save costs, so assistant chief, no, we would not fill that position. Captains, there would be 2, so there would be 3 administrators instead of the 4 that there was. Replacing the assistant chief or removing that position saves an additional 4% a year. And then, so, this can change. There's retirees or people that could retire. We also just found out that we have an officer that's possibly, well, he's waiting for his orders, but deploying December, and he won't be back till December 26th. So that would be a spot we have to hold, but it would be money that would be saved essentially. I mean, there's very little money you'd have to pay all year. So it's not losing an officer per se, but it is losing an officer.
I'm just like, so Jason, what's happening with you? I mean, you're going back on the street or what?
No, well, we don't know. I mean, obviously Chief Snyder is going to be retiring, so we don't know, but what we're saying is what we're looking at in 26 to
Right.
save money would be to go with a chief, captain, and save money in that assistant chief arena.
Okay.
Obviously, we'd have to go through the process, who's going to be the next chief and all that. We don't know that.
I guess I was not fully aware of when Chief Snyder was retiring.
Well, we don't know fully, we don't know
Right.
that yet because we're waiting on collective bargaining.
Right, right,
all
right.
that. Yeah, but that's like going to happen as Captain Otop said. So the retirements coupled with the possible military deployment, it might not necessarily be attrition, but it'll be attrition based off of those folks not being here.
Yeah.
So we'll save the money without losing the.
It's not attrition as in we have an employee permanently exiting and then not backfilling it, but we will have lower staffing levels over a particular time period. We'll have cost savings.
Correct.
Yes, and essentially we've been doing that already because we've yet to meet our 51 complement since we've implemented the 51 slots. So we've had not done a full year yet with the 51 complement. And that's going to be the same coming up. So
Okay.
we are slotted and budgeted for the 51. So, you know, we look at it as a cost savings, but we end up pushing that over to the overtime cost.
This was our effort to attempt to keep our manpower and get creative with saving money for the city.
And just curious, how's the hiring list? Where are we at with?
So right now we just opened that up. So we're receiving applications now. So we don't have a
Okay.
list generated.
Right.
The previous one has expired. So we either hired off of it or
Okay.
they didn't make the cut. So we're working on getting a new one ready now.
All right.
We start testing in February. of
Okay.
that list.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
No.
Just one more question back on the fleet kind of thing. So what are the mileage, age of the vehicles we're going to replace next year based on the budget? Give any idea?
So
And
those
I say this, I know that the police vehicles get
used hard.
they get worked hard. It's a really good way to put
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, they're constantly idling. They're 2001s. I think it's 2001s and a 2002.
okay.
So we're trying to keep the 3-year cycle because obviously, just like your car you would buy, that first three-year, 36,000 miles is golden.
Yeah.
So for us, all those cars, I mean, we have fuel pumps and
Yep.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's all on us to replace.
What are the next couple of years in terms of age? Like, are these like outliers in terms of like, these are super old and then we get to, hey, they're maybe like 2010s or what are the next
No,
couple
this is
cycles
all-
in age look like?
No, this is probably some of the oldest ones we have now. They're 21s. We do have one 2017. And that's more of an agent vehicle that we'll look to replace next year, but it
Okay.
doesn't get used enough.
Okay.
Patrol is just constantly used.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
makes sense.
No, understood.
And
Go
just
ahead.
remembered a couple of years ago when we were trying to catch up and
Mhm.
rebuild our
Yep.
fleet.
Yeah.
That's why I was
we
asking the
finally
question.
came
Yep.
to where
Yep.
we're at a good place for the replacement. Just keep it going. Because if we don't, we're gonna be in the same place we were for 5 years.
So we're at the point where we're about to start seeing, I don't want to say newer, but like what we should normally be seeing in terms of vehicles cycling out in terms of what year they were manufactured, that kind of thing.
Correct.
We're
Like-
getting close.
correct.
If not there in 27.
Yes.
Yeah, constant 3-year cycle. And the upside of that is we can also sell those used cars for more.
Yeah.
And we are exploring too with Enterprise, and actually Gordon has reviewed that, possible lease agreement.
Yep.
There's a number of municipalities and school districts that have gone with a lease agreement, contract, and there's pros and cons to both. And
Yeah.
again, we've looked at that. We are not there yet,
Yeah.
but we're exploring that also to see if that would work for us. So PFM's reviewing that. And we're in conversations with Enterprise right now to see. So that's a maybe, but if there's
Yeah.
some cost savings there, that's a possibility. But the trajectory we're on right now is a
Yep.
good one with currently, and we're just looking at that as a possibility.
I remember looking at that 2020. I feel like it was pretty early. Yeah, somewhere in there.
It's been a while, yeah. I
It's
don't
been a
know what it
while.
was, yeah.
Hagen, it was still Chief Hagen. It was pre your tenure, Snyder.
Yeah, that there's
If you need anything related to that, I can try to dig it up for you if you need it.
Yeah, I think we're good there. It's now that we're sort of, got our arms wrapped around it and we can give Enterprise better information. And so just looking at that as well.
All right. Any other questions? Mr. Pelisi?
Yeah, again, going back to, Liz, you said in the past we were getting $75,000 from MLB for the game to go towards the overtime costs.
Yeah.
And we're looking at
I needed that count.
$150,000 in overtime. I mean, $75,000 from how far back?
75K, that would have been I want to say every year up until 2020.
Okay, so it'd be substantially, 75 grand would be worth quite a bit more now than when it was $75,000 then, which would be extremely impactful in helping to cover these overtime
I
costs.
think that we were providing bus services as well as part of that calculation. I'm not shouting you down in terms of what the value of the services that we're currently providing is, but
Okay.
I do think that 75 was compensatory for a handful of things, but correct me if I'm wrong. Randy, do you remember? Do you remember what that 75 was covering? Was it just police and overtime there, or was it also like bus services, things like that, transportation?
To be truthful, we didn't know that $75,000.
Also true, Randy.
Yeah, so there's no accountability for the past, you know, well, and what it had been used for.
Well, I don't know that we ever were using it. I think we were putting it in that account. That was,
Do you
But we
remember
didn't
the
have-
meeting,
Didn't
guys?
have
You
any
know,
control over the
God, us
the-
three old heads trying to remember what the hell happened in 2018.
we didn't even know about it until it was slipped out during a meeting and the three of us jumped up and wanted to know. It was put in a special account and nothing was used. It was not touched. So, we just thought, this is great. We'll have this, cushion. And I don't know what happened with the contract that we're not getting anything at this point. Instead, we're getting demands for more things. So something's got to be done.
yeah. It
Okay. No,
it needs revisited.
I bring that
Yeah.
up because Liz, you said $75,000 from 2020, right?
I think the last time we would have received that funding was probably 2019, but I'm
Yeah,
not quite sure.
2019.
Yeah.
So that would be potentially worth anywhere between $90,000 to $95,000 today, approximately. So yeah, that's definitely something that we need to revisit.
Mhm.
You know, we're looking at $150,000 in overtime costs.
I think we can safely say that 150 in overtime is certainly not exclusively MLB.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
No.
But it's easier to deal with those kind of increases when we get some additional funding to help cover it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for our police department in their police budget? Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
We'll go to the Bureau of Fire. They are starting on page 30. Assistant Chief Smith, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council President, member of council. So before you get to the right page. Overall, our budget went up 1.64% to the tune of $129,352. Salaries with the contract negotiation that was just submitted, I believe, last council meeting. We do have an increase in revenue for the South Williamsport agreement, increase in MMO for the pensions, non-uniform and uniform. The 97.5 encompasses the overtime for overtime that we contracted with the agreement with South Williamsport to hire somebody on overtime to go over to staff that was predetermined. Health insurance premiums, we saw that 286,000. We decreased our funding in the training budget by 5,000. The city hall operation allocation, 28,000. Supplies and materials, we decreased that by 20,000, but we are going to use our municipal state grant to fill that void. Supplies and materials are when we break a tool or have today's day and age batteries. A lot of our equipment we use lithium ion batteries and stuff. They're very expensive. A radio, something like that. So that's where those monies would be used. We increased $5,000 for turnout gear. With everything else in today's society, the increase of our protective clothing is going through the roof. Vehicle repairs, we added 8,000 to that, not just for the warranty going out on the tower, but also that was a monetary supplement that we got with the South Williamsport agreement. So there were monies there that were allocated, excuse me, to bump that up for fuel costs, wear and tear on the vehicles as we respond over there. Communications, we were able to drop down to 15,000. We feel pretty comfortable with that. Just a change going from Verizon to T-Mobile has saved a tremendous amount of money for us. Miscellaneous repairs, we reduced by 5,000. Contract service, that was decreased by 10,000, and facility maintenance decreased by 10,000. And the reason we were able to get save some money on facility maintenance, and there may be more there down the road, but we have done a lot of upgrades around fire headquarters, and a lot of thanks goes to Valerie and Melanie for the grant opportunities that they've afforded us to do a lot of these facility upgrades that we were able to get done in the last 2 years. If you drive by right now, you're going to see the whole front yards tore up. We got some pretty neat things going on at fire headquarters. I think that's all I have right now. If you would like to ask some questions.
Are there any questions for Assistant Chief Smith? Can you go on page 67 and 68, just kind of walk us through the salary detail progression, just what's, I know we're maintaining the complement that's there. I think we're at minimum manning for the fire side, is that correct?
Yes.
So I asked that question just kind of tying into PFM's, multi-year bridge. So can you just kind of walk us through the highlights of what's changing where?
Well, right now with the uncertainty, we're not sure who the next chief's going to be. Chief Sam is leaving in January.
Okay.
So we'll have a replacement appointed here within a few weeks. That being said, there is, so it appears that we're at 38 individuals right now, but it is because we hired Chief Sam's replacement already. So we hire them to send them to the academy, and then once Chief Sam goes, we don't hire until the end of next year for the replacement. John McCann is actually leaving in 27, the beginning of 27. We'll hire the replacement beforehand, so we don't have a shortfall on manpower as we progress through. So there will be a chief, a deputy chief. The certainty of the assistant chief of training is unclear right now. Our current assistant chief would like to go back to the ranks, so it may fall within the collective bargaining unit, but it's still a position that would be giving training to our people.
Okay. And then like some of the changes I see with like engineer, that kind of stuff, that's just like
So
progression through.
That's
experience.
based on a yearly. So we have the STEP program. You can see the fire engineer 1 year through 5 years because we do a STEP program every year that they're on. So at 2 years, you can become an engineer. And then as you progress, your salary, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, it's 65, Chief Sam, 65 when you start. You're 65% of a full salary of what would be a career firefighter your first and second year. And then if you decide to promote to an engineer, so it's 65, 70. So 75% on your third year would be equal to a seasoned fire engineer. It's basically a step program to help offset some of the cost. And it does help us with overtime costs and stuff like that.
Okay. Cool. I appreciate that. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Any additional questions for the fire department budget. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last and certainly not least, our environmental control and codes department. Mr. Nar, good evening, sir.
Good evening, President Yoder, Vice President Byer, members of council. The codes budget's on page 33 and 34. The codes department budget for the 2026 was an increase of 3%, which is a little over $27,000. Obviously, just like all the other departments, that's based on pensions, that's based on health insurance, things of those natures. As far as other increases, obviously, is city hall operation allocations, because it's a little bit more expensive to operate city hall with some of the costs that's involved there. Some of the decreases within the codes department will be contract services, and what that is Barry Iset we utilize. That's decreased by about $8,000. A lot of that is because I picked up a lot of the administrative part that Barry Iset does go out. Also, I go out and do inspections for him when he's not available, those type of things. So that cost is a decrease at that point. Same thing when it comes to training, we're down $1,000 decrease. And a lot of that is we do have an officer that was now certified. We have one that has taken all the training, just has to take the test to get certified at that point. And then everyone in the codes department will be certified as a codes international property maintenance code. Some of the other things obviously is technology is a decrease. What we're doing is working with the city as far as software, combining them so that we're not going to have that expense just on our own, because we use what we call GeoGIS ARC system. And unfortunately, that system, because it's been so old that we've had it, will be defunct next year. So we're working with the city to get a all-in-one type of software. So we'll have a decrease in that. The other one, obviously, you'll see the decreases, the capital projects budget. The code department really doesn't have a lot of capital projects. Our main thing was the code cars. We are now at a full complement. They're all brand new based off of the ARPA funding that we had. The longevity of them, probably because of the type of use that we have, will be about 10 years. So again, based off of PMS, it will be a decrease. As far as the decrease in the rental property inspections, to clarify that, when they come out with a rental property inspection ordinance, it's required that they're inspected every 4 years. Obviously, we can't do all the inspections once every year. So what they did is we stagnated them. And unfortunately, this year, you see that decrease. We're in the central business district and the commercial zoning district. Obviously, there's a lot less rental inspections. And I can answer any other questions.
Any questions for Mr. Nar, Ms. Mealy?
The GIS software, have we ever looked at, would there be any savings to either party if we attempted to regionalize that with the county? The purchase of software?
And that's something that we can look at. I know, so obviously Scott Williams came from that area and had that expertise in there. And that's something that I believe that is something that we can look at.
Yeah, Scott and Valerie are like spearheading the GIS software. So they have a couple options. And I'm sure, within the next couple months, we'll hear about it at one of the council meetings. But it's a plan to put everybody together. So we're kind of utilizing, the same software and also getting a lower cost with that.
And also get it in the stamp for recommendation so that DCD potentially pays for it. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm excited to see us get new software, and I would love to see us do an awful lot more with it. It sounds like Scott is planning to do a lot of stuff, but I think the appeal to me back when Dave Banks was on council, which was a long time ago, Dave had some dreams of like layered GIS that would allow us to track everything from potholes to rental code violations to regular code violations.
Capital projects.
Layer it over and try to figure out how to improve neighborhoods in a holistic way by chipping away at all of those components. And I think that's an incredibly powerful idea. And I guess what I'm looking is to get us the most bang for our buck. And if that happens through partnering with the county and utilizing their GIS staff in the same way that we have a level of GIS staff here and utilizing their data, that seems to me to be something worth exploring.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking
at.
Good.
Any other questions, Mr. Mackey?
Hey, Gary, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, could you remind me again how many codes cars? Four, right? We bought
We have five.
five.
Actually, we have six. We have 4 code officers, 1 public safety, has one of the older vehicles, and then obviously I utilize 1 for myself. So we have a total of 6 vehicles.
Okay, so gas and oil, dumb question maybe. That's gas and oil for the cars.
Correct.
So at $2,800, 6 cars, we're only filling up these tanks 12 times a year each.
That is correct.
Okay. And does that seem like not enough gas?
In some instances, when we go out and do multi-vehicle or not multi-vehicle, multi-inspections, the officers do go out to assist each other, so they're not utilizing that car each day. It's the same thing with me. I'm not utilizing the car that I have on a daily basis.
Okay.
The other one that's not utilizing, again, he's part-time, is Dave Columbine, who's our street inspector. He's only a part-time, so that's where you're seeing those decreases.
So there's some carpooling going on.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Just one question for you, Gary. Something that stuck out that I thought was an interesting observation from one of PFM's presentations. If I remember right, your department or codes was the only department that really had a consistent decrease in funding. I think. I mean, maybe there was one other that was close. So that really stuck out to me because I mean, like, look, to be frank, I mean, your department's usually the one that gets a big black eye from people calling in. Why isn't codes doing this? Why isn't codes doing that? Right. I hear it. I know everybody else up here hears it. Right. So I say all of that to just kind of ask, and I think we had this dialogue a couple years ago. If you have a good understanding of, I think, just kind of the codes related challenges that the city has, right?
Correct.
If we had the ability, what would you change about the department? Is it more people? Is it more technology? Right? And outside of the fact that I certainly think there probably are some other challenges that maybe hinder our ability as a city to keep up with some of those things, that trend doesn't. That trend, I think, is a bit unique for code. So I just thought it was an interesting. This would be a good time to maybe just talk about what you've been in the role for a couple of years. What are we missing?
Well, not to show my age, but I've been with the city for over 15 years. And when I was hired with the city, there were 7 code officers, a code administrator, a zoning officer, and 2 office staff. We are down to just 4 code officers, myself, and an office manager. So, I mean, you've taken that away. My recommendation would be is you don't necessarily need 2 office personnel. I think if we brought in a part-time person that didn't have to have the salary, did not have to have the insurance, those type of things. And again, that would be to assist some of those, hey, we can't get a hold of codes. And again, some of it is because Robin's out doing rental property, paperwork and stuff like that, and out into the main lobby, and that's where obviously our big printer and stuff like that is. So my recommendation would be is to have a part-time person that can come in from like 10 to 2. And again, you're not asking for, the money for pension, health insurance because they're a part-time employee. Do I think we could add another code officer? 2 would be the max, would take us back up to 6. And again, we're using Barry Isett, so we don't have a code administrator that have me doing 2 roles. I think we can continue with that, but maybe a code officer or 2. Again, it would alleviate some of that perception that we're not out there doing. And again, you're talking in the last 14 years, you went from 7 now to 4 code officers.
Yeah. And then let me ask this question too. Where are the majority of complaints about code violations coming from? Are they constituents? Are they people in the city? Are they businesses? Are they internal employees?
Probably about 75% of them are basically local, what we call your local landlord, tenants type of issues as far as garbage, fire detection, it's not working and those type of things like that. So that's where you get majority of them. We do probably have
25% where we do have those absentee landlords that are not from the area. And under the ordinance, we're enforcing the ordinance, which is if you live outside the county, you have to have a representative that can oversee that property. That's a requirement. The other thing too, what we've been taking a proactive stance is some of those ones that just are not getting those rental property inspections done. Basically, we come across those. We have a data sheet that we come across those. Hey, this is what needs to be inspected. If they don't have it inspected, it's more than a year. We do what we call a 10-day notice saying, hey, you have 10 days under the ordinance. We have 10 days. We give them a 10-day notice to contact us to schedule that inspection, or that property comes condemned and your tenants will have to leave at that point until it gets inspected. And that's under the rental property ordinance.
Gotcha. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, look, like I kind of kicked off my questions with, at the end of the day, I feel like this department is the one of the most outward facing departments that everybody sees, everybody's got a thought about, and everybody has a kind of comment on, right? And every department can be improved, right? And codes is no different, but I also think there's just been a lot of, again, the PFM thing really stuck out to me as I think a unique thing where you don't have the funding as from before, and then just understanding, I think, a little bit more about how you operate, and how you go about doing things has been insightful, at least over the couple years that you've been there, and I've gotten to kind
Just a
of
couple.
no, you've been doing this, what is this, year 3?
I'm going on year 4.
Year 4. Time flies. So anyway, appreciate the info.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That concludes our item 2 budget review for tonight. Item 3 announcements. Our next regularly scheduled voting meeting will be Thursday, December 4th, 7 p.m. here at Trade and Transit 2. Our next budget meeting will be Wednesday in 2 days, November 19th here, Trade and Transit 2, 3rd floor. Any motion and a second for adjournment?
So move.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. See you all Wednesday. Thank you all.
Thank you.